All right, in our next talk, we're going to have the mayor of Jackson, Mississippi, talk to us about how the city is using data to help improve the resilience and sustainability. So please welcome to the stage Mayor Tony Yarber.
Thank you. Well, great day, everybody. How's it going? Who's sleepy? All right. Who didn't want to raise their hand because they thought that it would make a difference? Who's really sleepy? Raise your hand. All right. So my background is education, and in education we always come out and we begin any educational component of the day by ensuring that our class is ready and that they're geared up for what it is we've got to offer them. So I'm not going to ask you to stand up or anything like that. I'm just going to ask you to act like you're in a Baptist church in the South and that the person next to you is my color. Look at them and say, "Hey, neighbor, wake up." So first of all, let me thank each of you for waking up at least for the next 15 minutes to hear what we're doing in the city of Jackson, the kind of work that we're trying to get done. But more than that, to have a conversation about data that I think has a global reach if we do it right. I think we've got real opportunity in the country right now to be able to maximize the potential in cities, and not just major and mid-major cities, but also towns and villages and other areas around the country that really have an opportunity to see us do well as a country. This is a monumental moment. It is an opportunity where if we are smart, if we are strategic, then we have the opportunity to see the kinds of advances that we have only talked about in recent years. So I walked into my first ever district-wide staff meeting as a teacher, and I walk into a huge room and there are tons of people in the room. And interestingly enough, we're in the Bible Belt, and of course we start out and we open up with what? Prayer. They open up with prayer, we pray. At the end of the prayer, we all sit down and I'm excited. Yay, we prayed, we've invoked the divine force in the room, and a lady walks up to the front and she said, "How many of you all enjoyed that prayer?" And most of the room raised their hand. She said, "How many of you all believe that with the divine supreme help, we're going to get this done?" And everybody raised their hand. She said, "For everybody who raised their hand last, I want you to get up and turn in your stuff. In God we trust, but you got to show me the data." That blew me away, right? I said, "Wait a minute. Isn't that blasphemous or something?" She said, "In God we trust, but show me the data." It challenged me to adopt a new philosophy about how we use and look at data in public spaces, with the understanding that in positions and roles like mine as mayor and diplomats and bureaucrats, we often do a lot of talking. Don't raise your hand if you agree. We do a lot of talking, and what I wanted to do was see how we could move the city of Jackson from a place where we narrowed the gap between what we talked about doing and what we're actually getting done. Because we all know that the only things that get done are those that are measured, correct? So we walked into the city of Jackson, and one of the first things that we come to conclude was the fact that we had no clear vision with no real goals that we can align and assign those metrics to be able to measure along the way. We walked into a situation where everything that we did was based upon the way we had what? Always done it. So the first staff meeting that I walked into with my directors, I said, "Let me tell you the first way you get fired working with me is when I ask you to get something done and you tell me that we can't do it that way because this is the way that we've always done it." We sat down and we began to craft a vision. In our vision, we started talking about how we could put our data where our mouth was. How we could start having meaningful conversations when we went into communities and the neighborhoods, where we stopped having fluff-filled, make you feel good, make us feel good, pat ourselves on the back conversations, presenting surface-level data that talked about the great things we were doing, but we weren't able to bring community members along this journey that talked about how we got to where we were. Because most of us understand that unless it's a meaningful experience for you, it's not anything that you can actually capture and take home and something that you can own at the end of the day. So we decided we wanted to create an opportunity to create a vision rather. So we go into the neighborhoods. We start having what we called listening tours. So we must have gone on 10 or 15 listening tours. Every community, every major neighborhood, super neighborhood network we could get into. And we started asking people, what do you see your neighborhood or your community looking like in the world of entertainment? What do you see us looking like as it relates to infrastructure? We broke down every major concern that we always heard about, and we took it to community members and we said, how can you help us create a real, not only conversation, but strategic plan that addressed this? Did that, brought all that data back in, began to create a vision plan. In that vision plan, we created 5 themes that defined who we were. The overarching theme being we came up with the theme that said, we are Jackson. And what are the things that made up Jackson? The first thing that we talked about was the fact that if we're going to be Jackson, then we have to be innovative. If we're going to be a community that is sustainable and resilient, we have to take advantage of the disadvantages that we have in order to get this kind of stuff done. So we start having this long, broad, not very deep conversation that we ultimately realized about data. And so I come from a background where we keep up with data. We try to pull information together. And we saw an opportunity to be able to capture some stuff to show, and we did that. We created a matrix that brought in all of the things that we were doing. We had a status update. We just had all kinds of stuff. So much more work that we had created for our department directors. And while openly they didn't say anything, when they went into their silos, they complained about having to do it. How do I know? Because we get them late. And we get them late because there was no real buy-in to the fact that what we were doing made sense and mattered to them. Well, at the end of the day, it didn't matter because they were simply doing status reports. They knew what they already knew the stuff that they were sending to me. It was me who didn't know. It was me who was excited to get it because there was no real meaningful benefit to the department directors. We created this engagement or took advantage of this engagement with What Works. By doing that, the folks with What Works and our partners began to show us how to move into a deeper conversation about data and how we pull in the data sets that really mattered, not just to the mayor, but that really mattered to people in the community. So we moved from conversation to actually attempting to getting things done. Now, mind you, we had met the beautiful, wonderful, magnificent people at Socrata. Had met you. But what we did know was that spreadsheets through Microsoft wasn't going to get it. We understood that we were already doing the work that way. And so what we were missing was the technology component. But we knew that we had 3 things that we could take advantage of: the innovation opportunity, the process opportunity, and our policies. What do you mean, Tony? I mean that in innovation, what we recognized clearly was that we had an opportunity that cities who were doing well did not have. See, we are Jackson, Mississippi. We're the capital in the state of Mississippi. 85% of our population is African American. We are a blue city in a red state. We are always looked at as the last and the bottom. We have the highest crime rate in the entire state, which, by the way, shameless plug, we're down 15% in major crimes. Yay. We're down 15% in major crimes because when we sat down with the police department, I said, I want you to do some stuff that we've never done before. I want you to engage community. I want you to create a real live community policing program, and I want you to be able to prove to me how the things that you are doing are working. We moved the conversation, family. We moved from talking about what we were doing to why what we were doing was actually working. We moved from talking about the kinds of wonderful things we were doing in community to really determining and using real analytics to determine what really works. And as we move from that conversation, we're now able to look at scaling that stuff. So we move then to scalability. How do we make this not only work in the affluent neighborhoods who are excited about creating an opportunity for engagement with the police department, to neighborhoods who were skeptical of the police and who would not have a conversation with the popo if you paid them? We had to show them that there were wins, there was an opportunity, that we weren't coming in to tell them what we wanted to do, but we wanted them to come and tell us what they needed from us. And in doing that, it has helped us create an opportunity where we are able to show them through a different lens what that data looks like as a result of their engagement. I'm telling you, we've got a great opportunity through innovation to change the trajectory of cities and communities simply by using data. What we learned very quickly is that data can be used and utilized not only by the techies and the geeks, but also by the least of them all. Because at the end of the day, everybody wants to be on a winning team. And if you can show them how their engagement is producing wins, then what have you done? You have invited yourself to an opportunity where everybody who's a part of what you're doing want to invite somebody else to be a part of what you're doing. So in the city of Jackson, we said that we were going to take advantage of our innovative opportunity to do some things, and we weren't asking for permission, but we were going to do it and then ask for what? Forgiveness later. I'm telling you, I've gotten in more trouble since I've been the mayor than any mayor in the history of being mayor in Jackson. I declared a state of emergency for our infrastructure. You want me to tell you why? Because the data said that we had bridges that were failing, and that at least 50 of my bridges, of the 102 of those bridges, will potentially fail in the next several years. But according to the Stafford Act, I can only declare an emergency after the bridge falls and kills you. Well, I said, why not be innovative and take the data that we have, show the people. We showed the people. We said, hey, people in Jackson, the bridge you riding on, that sucker gonna fall. Which is why I'm going to declare a state of emergency, and we're going to take this all the way up to FEMA and the Department of Transportation. And in doing that, you would not have believed the amount of pushback that we got from declaring a state of emergency because we use data to be proactive. Go figure. So we wanted to use this innovation that would influence our policies. We want to use this innovation that will influence how Congress views our state of infrastructure. We wanted to use this innovation to be able to influence how folks at our state level look at the fact that in the city of Jackson, we have a public health crisis because we have sanitary sewer overflows, and I can show them the data that proves that if we don't do something soon, then the fact that you're putting money in museums, while we love museums, we love them, but I also need them in my sewer. Because I want to make sure that the clean water that we're drinking is actually clean water. I want to make sure that the water that we're putting back into the Pearl River, that it is water that the effluent that we're putting into the Pearl River won't create degradation. That we're being friendly to the environment that loves on us, so that we can prove that we love that environment back. Finally, we want to make sure that our innovation was able to influence our policies, which would in turn influence our processes that will make us more efficient. We're on the right track, I think. I think that we're in a position where we can not only do that, but create a model in the state of Mississippi and in the South, where not only are mid-major cities are able to use these processes and use this open data conversation, but they're also able to take advantage of what they have right there in their hands. And I think that we have a unique opportunity in Jackson to be able to lead them into that conversation. Finally, in my last 5 minutes, I think it's very important that you understand that while we are busy attempting to do different things in Jackson, you do not impact culture through nuance alone. We believe that we have to impact the culture in the city of Jackson, in the state of Mississippi, by constantly engaging people to be a part of the data that we're producing and to be a part of carrying the narratives that we are creating as a result of that. I don't know about y'all, but as a politician, I'm tired of getting my behind kicked. I'm tired of getting the kick because I hadn't been able to use the right resources to create the right narrative. See, anybody will buy the truth if you're interested in it. But who's interested in selling the truth in the right way? So my responsibility, along with Justin and his team, is to create a narrative based on truth. Truth in what? Truth in numbers, truth in data. Whether that data is something that we've gotten through, whether it's quantifiable or whether we've got it through some kind of qualitative method, whatever the conversation is, we got to be able to show folks that we're telling the truth. Because if they believe we're telling the truth, then they'll believe us on the next bond issue. They'll believe that we need the money and not just that Yarber wants some more money. I would take some money, but not from your people. We have this unique opportunity to create sustainable, resilient cities with a constant conversation around data. I wrap up now with a very simple challenge. And the challenge comes through a poem that I like, that I love, rather. It's become an endearing poem. And what it does, this poem helps us to capture the essence of the moment that we are in right now. And it doesn't matter whether or not you're a Republican or a Democrat. It doesn't matter because the only thing that makes us all alike is the data. The data takes away color of skin. The data takes away male or female. If you are interested in the truth, you will follow the data. This is a moment in time in our country, in the history of our country, where we have exactly what we need to tell the right story. Poem is by a brother named Benjamin E. Mays. And Dr. Benjamin E. Mays is past president of Morehouse College, and he writes a poem entitled God's Minute. And this poem helps us to understand the magic that is in the current moment that we are all in. I know everybody's ready to leave and jump on a plane or jump in a cab or jump in an Uber. But if you miss this moment, if you miss the magic that's in it, then you forfeit the right, the privilege that you have been given to matter to somebody else. And Dr. Mays says it very simply. He says, I have only just a minute. Only 60 seconds in it, forced upon me, can't refuse it, didn't seek it, didn't choose it, but it is up to me to use it. I must suffer if I lose it, give an account if I abuse it. It's just a tiny minute, but eternity is in it. That's how we view where we are in the city of Jackson. That's how we view. We don't know what will happen after 2017. Not really concerned about it. Statesmen look to the next generation. Politicians look to the next election. But what we understand clearly is that we have an opportunity to create a sustainable community with the right use of data, with the right messaging, and understanding that its resiliency, our opportunity to return to a place of prosperity and hope where the city of Jackson was when I was a young man growing up there, is going to lie in us using what we know is reliable. Thank you for listening and being engaged today. Feel free at any time. You can check us out in the city of Jackson. Our website is jacksonms.gov. See the work that we're doing, watch our progress. We take free consultations, send it, we won't tear it away. You can follow the work that I'm doing. I'm on Twitter, Tony Yarber, at Tony Yarber, TonyYarber. And if you want to see my beautiful children, I'm on Instagram at the same thing. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you've got magic in this moment. Take advantage. Make sure that you matter and make sure that folks will miss you when you're gone. Thank y'all for your time.